working on a book project, starting with your question on process versus outcome, I think previous experience would guide this, and the way to approach this would be to continuously engage as many stakeholders as possible. Once we have framed the preliminary content for each of these chapters, normally, in addition to the field work, field research that researchers do, conducting as much research as they can do, as far rural as they can go, we normally hold periodic interfaces here with the different stakeholders, state agencies, civil society, media. We invite our bishops and the sheikhs to come and give us their side of the story. In the process, one, we are communicating the preliminary findings, but also two, we are getting more information and input from all those different stakeholders. I'm not sure we have resources to allow us to go and interact with them from the different regions of Uganda, but if that were possible, that would be the best way to go about it. Now, when there are other people who are doing similar activities, it could be applied research projects by some different civil society organizations, sometimes we encourage them to adapt some of their work to the book project we are doing. Sometimes we encourage others to co-author with our authors. Other times we encourage them to pick what we have and write policy briefs and hold media conversations and hold talk shows, so that the conversation we hold in the compound of CBR spreads as much as it can. Many times we involve the media to make sure that the conversations we hold here spread as much as possible, with as many eyes and ears as they can extend. But again, you can only do as much. There will be a news bulletin, there will be a conversation on TV, and only those who will watch it or have interest in the subject matter will find themselves involved. So the process, I think, will involve as different stakeholders as possible, with the lead researchers picking as much as information they can pick from as many sources as possible. So we combine the traditional methods and canons of research with the stakeholder engagement approach to be able to broaden and deepen the issues we come up with. Then on the issue of my sister on the depth of the problem vis-a-vis the solution we are applying, I'm not sure CBR has the means to for instance, change the presidential transition, answer the presidential transition question in Uganda. The only work that we can do is to bring here intellectuals, and they share their worries, they make their prescriptions and suggestions, and also bring it to the attention of the ordinary citizens that this is not right. I don't think anyone in the government is unaware that there is a serious transition problem, whether in the security services or even in the presidency. They are aware. But because politics revolves around interests, when powerful people who still have the means at least to resist certain interests, while sustaining some of their interests, when they are still capable of doing that, you always have this imbalance of the course of direction of the country. And this is why countries actually degenerate. We could become a Somalia anytime, and we could become a South Sudan anytime, we could become a Sudan anytime. But those that hold the key to peaceful transition either have not experienced enough pressure to allow the peaceful transition, or do not have the internal interest to let it be. And as CBR, the only thing we can do is to highlight these worries that are prevailing in society and bring them to the attention of those who read the book and also those who take part in the seminars here. Finally, and this relates to Herbert's prognostication. If whatever could happen does not necessarily have to be a coup, it could be a sudden death. Andrew. It could be a sudden death. It could also be a hazard. COVID-19 can come worse than we had, and there can be a state of emergency. Now, these lawyers call them what? Force majeure, something like that. Yes. These unpredictables, when they happen, you say I got an accident and I could not go home, so I slept in the hospital. we normally worry less about them. But the final thing I wanted also to say is I think the research team is going to be looking at there is some continuity in Uganda's electoral behavior since 1980. Some professor shared with me about this idea and I have been thinking about it. In 1980, those who were old enough, perhaps Richard and Professor Ndebesa, who were available then, the debate was about...
He voted, I didn't.
Wow. The debate was about... Should Obote come back? Should Obote come back? Should the new face take over? In 1996, the debate was about should Museveni continue, should the new face come over. That's when we had the inter-party coalition hanging around Semogere. And since then, we tend to see voters dividing themselves around two issues: continuity of the incumbency versus discontinuity of the incumbency. Not on the quality of the message of a presidential candidate, not on the promise of the manifesto of the party or political coalition, but on whether voters think this message is capable of becoming the alternative to Museveni. Whether this ghetto president can now become a youthful alternative to the aging generation. Now, these seem to be continuities in our electoral behavior, and concurrent with them, the complete disappearance of ideological persuasions and influences in citizens and voters' choices. Will anything change? Will anything happen? Maybe someone can theorize and write a paper around this. Thank you.